Chapter 1839. Jiang Mai scratched his hair and sat on a pile of colorful balls in his slippers. He squatted there for a long time and finally turned on his cell phone. Sure enough, the news was filled with reports about today's publicity event. There was talk of a great momentum, a reunion after 2 years, no Zixuan, no Chang'e, and even the prodigal son returns. Jiang Mai apologizes on the spot and reconciles with Han Zixuan. Turn back your ass. Apologize your ass. Reconcile your ass. What the fuck is this? Jiang Mai was so angry that he almost smashed his cell phone. At this moment, the big screen in the arcade city suddenly changed. The staff had actually switched it to the live webcast of Under the Heavens promotional site. Wow! It's my goddess Xianxian. It's true. The world is holding an event in the convention center today. It's a pity that I didn't get a ticket. Why is the screen dirty? Our goddess is so beautiful today. She's a beauty addict. The live webcast on the big screen attracted many people's attention. Jiang Mai's eyes were fixed on it. Hee. I'd like to see how stupid those idiots can be. On the big screen, Han Zixuan changed into a red outfit and put on an exciting fight performance with the staff, causing the fans at the scene and the passers-by who were looking up in the arcade city to exclaim in amazement. Jiang Mai rested his chin on his hand and swayed on a wooden horse. His eyes almost rolled out of his head. Trained for half a year? Who are you kidding? This flowery frame took at most 3 days to complete. It's all because of the excellent acting skills of the staff who acted with her. Did you notice? There's one more person who's not here today. I heard that this late guest has something to say to our Zixuan. Wow. Really? Let's invite this guest to come on stage. As soon as the host's voice fell, Han Zixuan's fans at the scene sighed with dissatisfaction. The passers-by in the video arcade also sighed and complained. Damn, is Jiang Mai going to appear? Is he finally willing to apologize? Humph, shameless scumbag. I won't forgive him even if he apologizes. Right, he's so tasteless. To think that I used to like him. Now, even his good looks can't make me forgive him. Hearing the host's words, Jiang Mai's face suddenly changed. Damn it, what's going on? I'm right here. What the hell are you talking about? What the hell are these bastards doing? The one with the surname Lei. If you really dare to take the initiative to apologize on my behalf. Jiang Mai's murderous gaze almost made a hole in the screen. After a short wait, someone finally appeared on the stage. It wasn't Lei Ming but Su Tao. How could it be this guy? She knew Lei Ming didn't have the guts, so the company sent Su Tao? Jiang Mai was so angry that he immediately took out his phone and was about to call them. Just as he was searching for the number, he saw from the corner of his eye Su Tao cautiously extending his hand in the direction behind him, as though there were others behind him. First there was a flash of white, then under Su Tao's lead, a figure slowly walked out of the darkness and onto the brightly lit stage. The plain white Chang Sam, the wispy hair, the breathtaking face. She didn't need to wear embroidered clothes to compliment her. She didn't need expensive luxury goods to decorate her. And she didn't even need any words. Her existence was the focal point. Fuck. The moment he saw who was on the screen, Jiang Mai staggered and rolled down from the little wooden horse. Chapter 1840. In the exhibition center. After a flurry, the front desk and the backstage finally restored the normal order and were ready to smooth things over. If a has-been actress was willing to humiliate herself and add icing on the cake, why wouldn't they do it? However, when the organizer finally reacted, the fans began to riot. The exclamations and discussions in the venue became louder and louder. Everyone was pushing forward crazily. The security guards threatened them with batons and kept blowing whistles, but it didn't work at all. From time to time, people in the crowd cried and screamed when they were pushed. I understand everyone's excitement, but please control your emotions. Ahem, that's right. Everyone please be quiet. The two hosts talked for a long time, but no one listened to them, so they looked to Han Zixuan and Zheng Anru for help. Seeing that Ningxi's appearance caused such a stir, Zheng Anru's face darkened. Han Zixuan had calmed down. She picked up the microphone and said softly, "My fans, please be quiet, okay? Thank you." In the past, when their idols spoke in person, they would definitely respond. However, at this moment, these people had completely lost their minds and were still pushing crazily. God! Ningxi, is it really Ningxi? Don't push. Don't push. Could it be that the organizers found an imposter? Fuck. Seeing that the whole venue was filled with the names Ningxi, 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 the fans became more and more excited, and the organizer was also in a mess. The scene was about to get out of control. At this time, there was a sudden hush from the microphone. Then, a familiar voice was heard in the noise. Gentlemen, please take care of the girls around you. Don't let them be pushed, okay? Although the voice was not loud, and was as gentle and harmless as the stream water, it was almost drowned out by the noise of the crowd. However, it seemed to have some kind of special power. The moment the voice sounded, all the men at the scene were startled. Not only did they stop pushing and shoving, they even consciously stopped the people beside them from pushing, and opened their arms to protect the girls around them like gentlemen. Those girls who were as crazy as the men, after hearing Ningxi's words, all became extremely ladylike. Within 3 seconds, the scene was quickly restored to order, and silence reigned. This was so powerful that it left one flabbergasted backstage. Starlight's public relations director's expression was getting more and more solemn. He vaguely recalled that Ningxi's fans were famous for their high quality. The order of the event site was the most orderly among all the artists, as if they were under military management. Although Han Zixuan had accepted Ningxi's huge fan group, she didn't retain this characteristic of being a fan at all. But once Ningxi came back, even Han Zixuan couldn't control her fans. They immediately became so obedient. This was simply the two hosts, who were sweating profusely to maintain order, saw that the scene had suddenly become quiet. They looked at each other in shock. After being stunned for a while, the two of them finally reacted and hurriedly arranged for all the guests and main cast to be seated. Today, Han Zixuan was the only protagonist. No matter what, he had to find a way to turn things around. Chapter 1841. Well, I guess you didn't expect that the organizer could invite the former national goddess Ningxi to attend today. You must be very surprised. Even the hostess is shocked. After all, Ningxi has left the entertainment circle for more than a year. After receiving Zheng Anru's warning glance, the host's seemingly cordial but hidden sarcasm in his words ended. He immediately changed the topic. Teacher Ning, what do you think of Zixuan's performance just now? The fans and the audience are very satisfied with Zixuan's new performance of Mengchanga. This question, she had said that the fans and the audience were very satisfied. If Ningxi said she was not satisfied, wouldn't she be going against the fans? If she gave a satisfactory answer, it would mean that Han Zixuan's performance was more exciting. Even if Ningxi was a little polite, it could be predicted that the other party would definitely take advantage of the situation. At that time, it would be full of entertainment gossip such as Ningxi is ashamed to watch the performance live. The new generation excels the old and so on. Ningxi would become the other party's stepping stone. Facing the trap set by the hostess, Ningxi remained calm and gently nodded. The fans and the audience will never be wrong. Hearing this, seeing that Ningxi fell into the trap, Zheng Anru secretly sneered. Ningxi, I didn't expect that she dared to show up. She came at the right time. Senior, you flatter me. I still have a lot to learn. Han Zixuan replied gracefully and modestly. However, the word senior was full of sarcasm. Both the hostess and Han Zixuan kept saying senior and former, reminding the fact that Ningxi was already a thing of the past. At this time, Zheng Anru said casually, Zixuan really has a lot to learn. Since Senior Ningxi is here today, it's a rare opportunity. Why don't you teach Zixuan with a wonderful fight? Yes, Ms. Ning, please give us a fight. You must be looking forward to it, right? Don't you think so? The hostess immediately echoed. Before Ningxi said anything, Su Tao's face had changed. Forget it if it's too intense. Ningxi is not in good health recently, and can't bear it. Zheng Anru was even happier in her heart when she heard Su Tao's refusal. And how could she be willing to give up such a good opportunity? Ningxi had been a martial arts double before. She had a good foundation, and gained a large number of fans with her good skills. But now she had retired from the martial arts circle for a year. She was not as good as before. So what if her appearance remained the same? Meng Changa's character wasn't based on looks. Looking at how weak she was right now, it was obvious that she would not be able to control him. As long as Ningxi disillusioned all the fans today, Zixuan would have nothing to worry about in the future. Ah, I see. What a pity. However, it's just a casual one. It shouldn't be a big deal, right? After all, Teacher Ning's Meng Changa was very popular in those days. Many old fans here are looking forward to seeing Teacher Ning's elegant demeanor again. The host urged. Obviously, he didn't want Ningxi to leave the stage if she didn't perform. Brother Tao was just too nervous. It's nothing serious. Do you have a spear? Ningxi didn't care and asked directly. Su Tao was anxious when he heard this. He firmly remembered Liang Feixing's exhortations. Ningxi had a serious illness before, and had just recovered recently. She must not be too tired or do strenuous exercise. Chapter 1842. Su Tao's face darkened. Just as he was about to continue speaking, Ningxi glanced at Su Tao and gave him a reassuring look, indicating that she knew her limits. Su Tao saw Ningxi's calm expression and could only suppress it for the time being. However, his back was tense, ready to deal with any sudden situation. However, even though he was already vigilant enough, he still didn't expect the other party to be so shameless. The staff member who was fighting with Han Zixuan just now was holding a spear in each hand and was standing far away. Then, he actually threw one of the spears directly in Ningxi's direction. An ordinary person definitely wouldn't be able to withstand the huge force of the spear thrown over. Moreover, they would dodge it out of reflex. Obviously, this was the effect that the other party wanted. The cameraman was probably already secretly preparing to take a shot of Ningxi in a sorry state. Just as Su Tao was about to vomit blood in anger and rush forward to block the spear, he saw that Ningxi didn't even blink. Her figure moved back slightly, and then a slender, white hand steadily blocked the spear. After the big screen zoomed in, the fans below the stage could clearly see the speed at which the spear flew over, and when the spear was held in the girl's hand, the body of the spear trembled violently. Wow! There was a burst of exclamations and applause from the audience. Zheng Anru's face darkened. It was just a spear. What was there to shout about? Making a fuss over nothing. The staff member frowned slightly, and a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. After receiving Zheng Anru's displeased look, he immediately raised the spear in his hand and quickly attacked Ningxi. When he was sparring with Han Zixuan just now, Zheng Anru had already bragged that his opponent was a professional martial arts actor. He had also been training Han Zixuan for the past half a year, and his opponent did indeed have some skills. Ningxi saw the other party's aggressive attack, stood at the same place, the long spear in her hand as if it had a life of its own, spun in her palm, and then, with a pung sound, it clashed with the other party's long spear. Sparks flew everywhere. It was only a short fight, but the martial arts actor instantly knew that Ningxi wasn't a show-off like Han Zixuan at all. She was the real deal, so he didn't dare to take her lightly anymore. In the beginning, the opponent was still thinking about how to make a fool of himself without being discovered. But in the end, he didn't have the mood to think about these twists and turns. He could only use all his strength to deal with the opponent's increasingly tricky moves. Damn it! This woman could actually use a beautiful spear. Guo Qixing had said that all the actions in the play were done by Ningxi herself. He didn't believe it at first, but now, all the fans below the stage, including the host, held their breaths and stared at the stage. They were so nervous that they could not bear to blink. It was as if the stage in front of them was not a dazzling stage, but a smoke-filled battlefield. It was not a performance, but a real battle of life and death. Finally, with a clang, the spear in the staff member's hand was knocked to the ground by the girl. In an instant, all the fans at the scene screamed excitedly and kept whistling. Roar! Ningxi is awesome! Amazing! It's so exciting! I'm so nervous that I'm sweating cold sweat. Looking at the reaction of the fans at the scene, Han Zixuan clenched her teeth, still smiling and applauding. Zheng Anru's expression, hidden in the shadows, was extremely ugly. Chapter 1843. What a useless thing. Trash. The professional stunt double she had hired with a high salary actually lost to a woman on the spot? After the staff received Jung On-ru's vicious gaze, his body suddenly trembled subconsciously. The next second, a trace of darkness flashed in the man's eyes. He suddenly lowered his hand to pick up the spear that had fallen at his feet, and unexpectedly attacked the defenseless Ningxi. Swish! At this moment, the spear in Ningxi's hand flew out at lightning speed, brushed past the man's neck, and after a loud bang, inserted into the wall behind the man. On the big screen, the spear cut through the hair beside the man's ear, and the spearhead sank into the wall, sticking straight there. The martial arts actor's body stiffened, and the expression of extreme fear on his face was magnified on the screen, forming a huge visual impact. Ah 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 ah! After 3 seconds of silence, there was a burst of screams and whistles that almost broke the roof. Thank you. Ningxi casually handed the spear in her hand to the staff beside her, and slowly sat down again. She didn't wear a warm red dress, didn't have heroic makeup, and even wore a gentle cheongsam with her hair in a bun. But no one doubted that at that moment, the soul in her body was Meng Chang'e. Even if one day that person retired, even if one day that person's body decayed, she was still Meng Chang'e. Chang'e! 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 The old fans at the scene shouted excitedly again and again, and their expressions were indescribably excited. Ningxi, are you all right? As soon as Ningxi came back, Su Tao asked nervously like an old mother. I'm fine. Ningxi shook her head. There was a thin layer of sweat on her forehead, and her wrist was swollen and painful. But fortunately, it was not a long time, so it was not a big deal. At this moment, looking at the reaction at the scene, Jung On-ru pinched her fingers tightly, and her face was ashen. It was over. It was irreversible originally. She was going to ruin Ningxi's image in the eyes of the fans, but it turned out that she could not be surpassed. This was simply digging a hole for herself. No, she could not let this happen. Once this impression was given to the fans, everything would be over. As expected of Senior, you're still a treasured blade. Our Zixuan is still young, but it looks like she's still too inexperienced. Jung On-ru put on a fake smile and applauded, but she deliberately emphasized the word old to highlight Han Zixuan's youth. In fact, Han Zixuan was only as old as Ningxi. As Jung On-ru said this, she glanced at the excited fans present with a faint smile, and then said slowly, It's really a surprise that Senior Ningxi is here today. But it's more of an accident, isn't it? After all, Senior Ningxi retired a year ago. Your fans were very sad at that time. Today, after more than a year, Senior has suddenly appeared again. Don't you have anything to say to your fans? Jung On-ru sneered. Her provocation was undoubtedly to arouse the hatred of the fans and the conflicts between Ningxi and the fans in the past year. Stupid fans. Have you forgotten how heartless this woman was? How she disappeared without saying a word and irresponsibly? This kind of person. Is it really worth it for you to continue to like him? Hearing Jung On-ru's words, the fans who had been cheering excitedly just now fell silent in an instant. Most of the fans here today were fans of Han Zixuan and Jiang Mai. And some of the fans of Han Zixuan and Jiang Mai were almost all diehard fans of Ningxi. On the stage, Ningxi sat there quietly and kept silent for a long time. Su Tao's heart suddenly tightened. What he was most worried about had happened. Chapter 1844. Seeing the reaction of the fans, Jung On-ru on the stage, and Wang Haojuan behind the stage both breathed a sigh of relief. Jung On-ru is the best. Wang Haojuan looked very satisfied. The public relations director next to him sighed. After all, she is one of the people who knows Ningxi best. Of course she knows where her weakness is. At this moment, the whole hall was still in dead silence. After a long time, the atmosphere became more and more depressing, like the calm before the storm. Just as a haze was brewing and spreading in the crowd like a plague, a woman's voice rang out. I'm sorry to have made you worry and wait for so long. The fans below the stage were silent. I have a lot to say, but I don't know how to say it. In the silent hall, the girl continued to speak. I will sing a song for you. The girl raised her head and smiled, but her eyes were full of sadness. Still no one spoke. Ningxi tilted her head, and whispered a few words to Su Tao. Su Tao looked a little hesitant, then nodded and left backstage. Zheng Anru and the others didn't stop her. They all looked at her coldly. He singing at this time? Was she trying to divert attention? What a joke! Did she want to change her career to be a singer? They didn't believe she could turn the world upside down. Even if she turned the world upside down, they had a way to turn the world upside down. Didn't she know whose show it was today? After a moment, with a dong, the whole stage suddenly darkened. Only a beam of light shone on the girl in the center of the stage in a white cheongsam. The girl narrowed her eyes and sat there quietly. The prelude of the music rang out. Thank you. The girl held the microphone, and her eyes fell on all the fans below the stage. She continued to sing softly. For the glory you gave me, I want to bow deeply to you. Because the effort some people can understand. The moment the girl's voice sounded, the fans below the stage suddenly narrowed their eyes. Thunderous applause, surging waves of emotions. This is the beginning. Not the end. This is the beginning. Not the end. What should I do in return? You seem to have a soft spot for me. With the girls word by word, the big screen behind the girl suddenly lit up. A girl appeared on the big screen. The girl wore a bright red suit and smiled shyly as she signed several autographs for several fans. The girl said that this was the first time she signed autographs for fans. Thank you. Thank you for the glory you gave me. Used to be much more ordinary. You're the one who made me dream to the peak. The scene on the big screen changed. Ning Shi, dressed in a handsome man's suit, was surrounded by a large group of enthusiastic fans with other members of the crew. The girl raised her eyebrows and slightly smiled. She said to the security guards, "Be gentle to my women." That minute in my heart. Too many feelings to describe. No matter how many twists and turns there are in the future, we will never relax. This proves that your choice is different from the rest. On the screen, the girl's face was full of tears as she walked alone in the heavy rain in the wild forest. Then there were behind-the-scenes footage. Because the girl was too tired, she directly lay on the ground, sleeping with her clothes on. Her face was so beautiful. This is our glory. I already know where I should go. The girl wore a bright red gown and stood on the podium of the Palme d'Or. Her eyes glistened with tears as she gave her acceptance speech. This is our glory. Ode to joy for you. Every one of you is my great hero. Accompanied by the girl's hoarse and choked voice, the image on the screen stopped, and what appeared were the tear-stained faces of the audience. The girl who was quietly singing on the stage had long since burst into tears. Chapter 1845. And the girl who was singing quietly on the stage had already burst into tears. The music stopped and the lights were turned on. The girl got up and bowed deeply to all the people below the stage. Scenes of their memories with Ning Shi, pairs of red eyes, tear-stained faces in the crowd. It was not known who first spoke, breaking the silence. Chiffon is everywhere. Brother, she is irreplaceable. This familiar slogan of the loyal fans was earth-shattering. And in an instant, it ignited the fire buried in everyone's hearts. All of a sudden, like a tidal wave, everyone began to shout along with him. Chiffon is everywhere. Brother, she is irreplaceable. Chiffon is everywhere. Brother, she is irreplaceable. Chiffon is everywhere. Brother, she is irreplaceable. On the seat, Zhuang Kuer, whose eyes were red from crying, suddenly stood up and took the lead to shout. Remember your original intention. Accompany you to shine brightly. Instantly, hundreds of people responded to his call. Everyone began to shout. Never forget your original intention. We will accompany you to shine brightly. Zhuang Rongguang, who was next to Zhuang Kuer, wiped his tears and began to shout. Without Ningxi, there is no world. 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 Even after Ningxi bowed and left the stage, the neat and uniform voice still echoed above the huge exhibition hall for a long time. The excited fans watched the girl leave. That was their idol, their faith, and their youth. Even if she had left, so what? We are still here. We will always be here. Below the stage, a round-faced girl lay on her best friend's shoulder and cried until she was out of breath. Her best friend patted her shoulder gently and comforted her. Okay, brother, she is back. I'm not crying about this. Then why are you crying? How could I be such a fool? How could I betray Brother Shi and fall in love with Han Zixuan, that counterfeit? I don't deserve to be Brother Shi's fan at all. Don't be sad. Anyway, there are so many people to be a fool with you. The round-faced girl burst into laughter and said with sparkling eyes. After some people appeared again, I realized what is irreplaceable. At this moment, Han Zixuan's face was pale, and Zheng Anru regretted letting Ningxi sing. The two hosts couldn't get a word in, and they couldn't save the situation no matter what. The investors in the seats were completely stunned. In the backstage, Wang Haojuan looked at the fans who were still crying and shouting slogans crazily, and Han Zixuan's fans crazily shouting Ningxi's name. He was so angry that he almost fainted on the spot. He had spent so much money, invited so many guests and media, and created this venue. In the end, it became Ningxi's solo comeback show. The new version of Under the Heavens was crushed into dust, and the fans returned to Ningxi's embrace because of one song. He finally knew that Shengshi Entertainment was here to make trouble today, and it was a thorough smashing. The table had been smashed. The public relations director hid at the side, secretly looking at the excited fans outside, his face full of amazement. Sigh. He had originally thought that Han Zixuan was unsurpassable, but now that the main character had appeared, no matter how popular Han Zixuan was, or how dazzling her appearance was, he actually felt that she was just SOSO. How could a firefly compete with the sun and the moon? Chapter 1846. In the arcade city. At this moment, countless passers-by were looking up at the live broadcast on the big screen. Like the audience in the live broadcast, their eyes were red, and they couldn't help shouting slogans. In addition, there were restaurants, streets and alleys, companies and homes. Countless people watched the live broadcast. Countless fans saw Ningxi, heard her singing, and heard the chorus of cheers. After Ningxi left the venue, the live broadcast continued. Ningxi, are you going to make a comeback this time? Movie Queen Ning, it's been a year. Why did you choose to appear on such an occasion today? Is it just because you were invited by the organizer? You should know about Jiang Mai, right? We have been waiting for Jiang Mai's apology today. It is said that Jiang Mai was the one who was supposed to attend. Why did it turn out to be you? Is it because Jiang Mai refused to apologize, so Shengshi asked you to come? You are in the limelight today. Aren't you trying to steal the limelight? Haha, you put it so nicely. What do you mean by being invited? Don't tell me you're here to cause trouble? Movie Queen Ning, could you please answer us? As soon as Ningxi came out, she was immediately surrounded by the reporters. Facing a barrage of questions, Ningxi suddenly stopped and glanced at the reporter who suspected that she was here to cause trouble. The reporter's hair stood on end from her stare, and he unconsciously took a step back. Then he saw Ningxi slightly raise her eyebrows and then said quietly, "Who said? I'm not here to make trouble." All the reporters. Jiang Mai, who was lying on the wooden horse and watching the live broadcast attentively. Puff, cough, cough, cough. The reporter, who deliberately wanted to embarrass Ningxi, was speechless when he saw Ningxi's calm look. He blushed and said, "You've gone too far. Do you think you can bully me just because you're a senior? Don't you know how bad Jiang Mai's behavior is? How could you cover up for such a person? Goddess, you are just as bad as that scum. Did you record it?" Ningxi didn't answer but asked Su Tao. Su Tao nodded and shook his phone. Done. Actually, there is no need to record it. Someone is doing the live broadcast. Everyone can see it. The reporter panicked when he heard that. I'm just telling the truth. Can't you even tell the truth these days? Su Tao chuckled. Whether it's the truth or a rumor, the lawyer will tell you later. Ningxi glanced at the reporters who kept asking questions and said flatly, I already know what happened to Senior Jiang. I also know that the organizer originally arranged for Senior Jiang to make a public apology. Yes, I also think he should make a public apology. Hearing Ningxi's words, the reporter thought she had admitted defeat and said smugly, Movie Queen Ning, it's too late to change your mind now. The next second, Ningxi's eyes sharpened, and she suddenly changed the topic. However, the organizer should apologize to Senior Jiang. The moment Ningxi finished speaking, there was an uproar. What? Apologize to Jiang Mai? Was Ningxi crazy? There were also a large number of reporters muttering to themselves. Ningxi sounded so sure. Could it be that there was something hidden in this matter? After saying this, Ningxi ignored the reporters' crazy questions and got into the car under the escort of Su Tao and bodyguards without saying a word. In the arcade, Jiang Mai stared blankly at the live broadcast above his head, looking at the domineering look of the girl supporting him and the way she raised her eyebrows and said, "Who said I'm not here to make a scene?" His heart was full of unspeakable feelings. Chapter 1847. In the car. Su Tao was in a great mood. "Ningxi, the song you sang on the spot just now was really great. Together with the video materials I brought with me, it was a tear-jerker. Even I'm crying like an idiot. That saves me a lot of trouble. I was thinking about how to explain it to the fans," Su Tao said. Thinking of how Ningxi talked back to the reporter in public, he looked a little worried and said in a euphemistic tone, "But Ningxi, what you said to the reporter just now is not appropriate, right? Jiang Mai is a tricky case. I understand that you want to help Jiang Mai, but it's easy to get yourself into trouble if you speak so confidently in front of so many people. They will apologize," Ningxi said with certainty. After saying this, Ningxi picked up her cell phone and made a call. Su Tao looked at her curiously, wondering who she was going to call. It would be useless to ask anyone to help Jiang Mai, right? That photo was the irrefutable evidence. Unless Shen Mian came forward to clarify it in person. But how could that be possible? Shen Mian regarded that film as her lifeblood. It was also because of this that Jiang Mai hadn't said a word about it. Even if Ningxi was friends with Shen Mian, she might not be able to persuade him. "Hello, Director Shen. Long time no see?" Hearing Ningxi's voice, Su Tao immediately thought that she was really looking for Shen Mian. "You, Ningxi?" At the other end of the phone, Shen Mian's voice sounded like she had seen a ghost. She couldn't even speak properly. "Oh my god. I just saw the live broadcast. I thought I was hallucinating. You're really back? Damn, it's been a year and 3 months. I thought you went back to your alien planet. Oh, it's rare that Director Shen still remembers me," Ningxi said quietly. Shen Mian felt that Ningxi's tone was a little strange. She coughed slightly. "Well, you called me for Jiang Mai." Ningxi went straight to the point and said Jiang Mai's name. "Director Shen, aren't you being a little too unreasonable?" Shen Mian's tone was a little embarrassed. "Oh, I know Jiang Mai was really wronged. But I'm a victim too. I had been trembling with fear and kept it a secret. How could I have known that the script would be exposed? I don't know if they told you, but my film's subject matter is indeed very sensitive. It definitely won't be released domestically. I'm going to participate in the International Film Festival. You see, I'm secretly going through the process of submitting my application for approval. If I get exposed here, the higher-ups will immediately order me to be banned and won't allow me to participate in international exhibitions. Who am I going to cry to then? By then, this film will have been shot for nothing. So you're just going to watch Jiang Mai bear all the consequences." Shen Mian was in a dilemma. "Ningxi, I know you feel sorry for Jiang Mai. I've worked with that guy for so many years and we're old acquaintances. This time, I'm really grateful to him for being so righteous. After I finish the process and confirm the qualification for the exhibition, I'll tell you immediately, okay? It'll be too late by then. But this is the only way now. What else do you want me to do?" Shen Mian sounded helpless. "Clear everything up now. My dear, aren't you making things difficult for me? If you clear it up now, my film will be completely ruined. I'll compensate you if it's ruined. Okay, I'll do it right now." Shen Mian changed her tone very quickly. Chapter 1848. Su Tao, who was standing next to them, heard their conversation and almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Damn it, this Shen Mian has no integrity at all. She changed her mind so quickly. Ningxi didn't expect Shen Mian to change her mind so quickly. Looking at her phone, the corners of her mouth twitched slightly. "Ningxi, you said you would pay me a movie. I've already booked you as the female lead in my next movie. If I can't do it, I can book you as the male lead. You can't go back on your word." Shen Mian had been acting pitiful just now. But now she sounded like she couldn't wait for the movie to be ruined. Ningxi laughed. Got it. I've never gone back on my word. Ha ha ha. Okay. Then I'll send it now. Just you wait. Shen Mian replied with a smile. Su Tao, who was watching from the side, was completely unprepared. That's it. Amazing, my queen. TSK, but Shen Mian got lucky. This is your first movie after your comeback, and you're giving it to him just like that. Let me tell you. After Shen Mian finished Your Dream Seeker, although the two movies she made were not bad, they couldn't be compared to Dream Seeker. I think she was a little impatient, because people kept saying that she couldn't surpass Dream Seeker. She actually took the risk and asked Han Zixuan to make a movie that she knew would be banned in China. She wanted to win an international award. Su Tao couldn't help but complain. At the same time, the International Convention and Exhibition Center was empty. Wang Haojuan, Zhang Anru, Han Zixuan, and a group of investors stared at each other backstage. The atmosphere was hazy. At this moment, besides Han Zixuan, the most embarrassed person at the scene was the well-dressed deputy general manager of Starlight Entertainment, Ning Shui. Tonight was an opportunity that she had been waiting for a long time. She wanted to appear at the finale and take the opportunity to clear her name. She even took the opportunity to invite the original cast as guests to attend. She didn't expect that Ning Shi, who had disappeared for so long, would appear without warning like a ticking time bomb and explode in her world. Originally, with Ning Shi's retirement, her past had been forgotten. With the success of her career, she even gradually began to walk the path of an inspirational goddess. Her identity as an adopted daughter was no longer criticized by others. Instead, she was pitted and understood by some people at the bottom. However, as soon as Ning Shi appeared in front of everyone, the things that she hated the most and didn't want others to know about all came to the surface again. As long as Ning Shi was still alive, everyone would firmly remember that Ning Shi was the real daughter of a rich family, while she was just a fake who had occupied the nest. Even if she had everything now, she could not get rid of this damned shadow. Why didn't you investigate when Golden Era agreed? No matter how shrewd Ning Shuelua was, she was already frustrated, and her blood was boiling. I'm asking you, why didn't you investigate clearly? Wang Haojuan scolded angrily. The public relations director had a bitter look on his face. I've asked, and they said that they would definitely give us an explanation. How could I have known that Golden Era would do this? I never would have thought that Ning Shi would show up. In their eyes, Golden Era was merely a remnant that was struggling at death's door. In fact, everyone did not even take Golden Era seriously. That was why they had let their guard down and caused such a huge mess. The PR director continued. Besides, judging from Ning Shi's answer to those reporters, they clearly planned this to make trouble on purpose. Chapter 1849. Of course. Do I need you to tell me that? Wang Haojuan was furious. His company had been destroyed, and he had made a wedding dress for someone else. At this moment, one of the investors who had been whispering to each other stood up and said, Ahem, actually judging from what happened today, we can still adjust the cast of this movie. Zhang Anru's expression changed. What do you mean, Mr. Qian? Mr. Qian, who had a beer belly, smiled and said, You've seen Ning Shi's popularity today. We've invested so much money in this movie, so of course we want to get the biggest return, don't you think so? Of course Zhang Anru knew what he was implying. She said angrily, Zixuan has already signed the contract. Do you still want to replace her? Replace her with a has-been actress who has been in seclusion for so long? Mr. Qian, Mr. Li, Mr. Chui. You don't know much about the entertainment industry, so you were deceived by what happened tonight. Ning Shi only appeared because she hasn't been seen for a long time, so it's inevitable that her fans will be excited. Do you really think she can do it, if we really let her take on the responsibility? She has no resources, no connections, and is still in Golden Era. How can she compete with Zixuan? She doesn't even have the right to carry Zixuan's shoes. After Zhang Anru's speech, Mr. Qian and the other investors looked at each other and hesitated. Wang Haojuan quickly took the opportunity to speak. Everyone, please calm down. Manager Zhang was the most outstanding gold medal manager in the industry. Her words would never be wrong. We Starlight have invested the most this time. We won't cheat ourselves. At this time, a well-dressed middle-aged man next to him said angrily, "Don't think we don't know anything. It's easy to fool people with money. Even if Ningxi is completely unpopular now, her appearance today has completely ruined everything we've been building up for a long time. The movie The World will never be surpassed in the hearts of the audience. No matter how much money we throw at it, it's useless. We can't even surpass the original version, so how can we surpass Nine Heavens? Are you dreaming? Why? Because of your so-called popularity queen, Han Zixuan? Han Zixuan can't even control her own fans? Tonight, Han Zixuan's fans changed sides one after another, which undoubtedly gave Han Zixuan a heavy slap in the face. At this moment, Han Zixuan was so angry that her whole body trembled when the investor pointed at her nose and scolded her. Ever since she became popular, she had been chased and flattered wherever she went. When had she ever suffered this kind of vexation? Just when Han Zixuan was about to lose control of her emotions, Ning Xuelo said, "Manager Li, you're wrong. You should know that not all of the fans here tonight are Zixuan's fans. At least half of them are die-hard fans of Jiang Mai. With such a huge commotion tonight, is it real, or is it deliberately arranged and instigated by someone to achieve an ulterior motive, or even to snatch a role? Boss Li is very familiar with the entertainment industry, so I'm sure you also know the twists and turns in this, right?" When Director Li heard Ning Xuelua's words, he frowned slightly. It was true that he could not guarantee the authenticity of her words, but based on his intuition, he did not think that the situation tonight could be faked. After all, even a bystander like him was moved and convinced by Ningxi. Chapter 1850. Wang Haojuan and Ning Xuelua finally managed to appease the investors, but something happened on the other side. The director of public relations, Lu Wenliang, ran over with his phone, sweating profusely. "Mr. Wang, Mr. Ning, what now?" Wang Haojuan asked impatiently. Ning Xuelua, Han Zixuan, and Zheng Anru frowned and looked at him when they saw his panicked expression. Under everyone's gaze, Lu Wenliang's pale face twisted. He swallowed and said with great difficulty, "Shen Shen Shun." "Shen what?" Wang Haojuan cursed. "Shen Mian." Lu Wenliang finally said the name. He stole a glance at Han Zixuan and Zheng Anru before saying, "Shen Mian just posted on Weibo to clarify that the photo of Zixuan and Jiang Mai kissing was a still photo." "What did you say?" "That's impossible." Zheng Anru's expression changed. Lu Wenliang said bitterly, "It's true. Shen Mian even released a detailed video to prove it." "Is Shen Mian crazy? Does he know what he's doing?" Zheng Anru screamed in disbelief. Han Zixuan's expression changed completely, but she said firmly, "There must be some misunderstanding. Director Shen would never do that." Shen Mian was definitely the one who didn't want this incident to be exposed the most. That was why they leaked the photo without hesitation. Han Zixuan quickly took out her phone and opened Shen Mian's Weibo. The next second, she saw Shen Mian's Weibo post at the top of the post. "Let me clarify something here. This photo is a still from my new movie Canto Chaos, which I filmed not long ago. It was taken from a fake location. Because of my selfishness, I didn't come forward to explain it to you even though I knew the truth. I'm deeply sorry that innocent people were affected and implicated." Below the post was a detailed comparison of the stills and the content of the movie, including some sensitive content. Han Zixuan was stunned. Shen Mian was indeed crazy. And he was quite crazy. Zheng Anru's face darkened and she said sternly, "We can't let this go. What's wrong with Shen Mian? Even if he goes crazy, he can't drag Zixuan down with him. Doesn't he know how important this movie is to Zixuan?" At this critical juncture, he actually exposed the movie on his own. And he even made it known to everyone. "Are you afraid that the higher-ups won't ban you?" Lu Wenliang coughed and said, "I don't think it's that simple. Shen Mian wouldn't do this for no reason." "Nonsense. Do I need you to tell me that? It must be Golden Era's doing." Wang Haojuan roared. Lu Wenliang frowned. But with Golden Era's current strength, how could they convince Shen Mian to make such a huge sacrifice for Jiang Mai? Ningxi. At this time, Ning Xuelua said a name with gloomy eyes. Although Zheng Anru hated Ning Shi, she didn't agree with Ning Xuelua's words. How can Ning Shi be so important? Vice President Ning, you think too highly of her. Wang Haojuan was overwhelmed. Alright, stop talking nonsense. The problem now is how to solve the problem. Lu Wenliang, I'm asking you a question. You've caused so many problems one after another. What are you doing as a public relations director? No wonder people always say that you'll always be second to Liang Feixing. Chapter 1851. Lu Wenliang's face darkened. He was furious after being criticized for the whole day. What the fuck does it have to do with me? Liang Feixing is awesome. Go and poach her if you can. CEO Wang. If Zheng Anru hadn't taken the initiative to leak the stills without telling me, and even promised me that there wouldn't be any problems, would things have gotten to this point today? Since when did she put him, the director of public relations, in her eyes? Now that something has happened to her, what can I do? Lu Wenliang, what do you mean by that? It's because you can't keep up with Zishuan's publicity, so we have to find a way ourselves. You didn't say anything when you saw the effect was so good. You've already done it. What the fuck can I say? I told you that this kind of intensive publicity will make the fans feel disgusted. So we have to keep a distance and maintain a sense of mystery. Did you listen to me? I brought Zishuan up. Do I need you to teach me how to do things? What the fuck do you know about publicity? You. Just as Starlight was being torn apart, at the same time, in Shengshi Entertainment, a group of interns and artists who had nothing to do in the company had just finished watching the live broadcast of The World. They were so excited that they were about to jump up and down. Whether it was those who were close to Ning Shi, or those who disliked him in the past, they were all excited when they saw Ning Shi. If Ning Shi's comeback could save Shengshi, then they could be saved too. Oh my god. Brother Shi. It's really my brother Shi. Brother Shi is back. Doesn't that mean Shengshi can be saved? That might not be the case. Shengshi is different from the past. Besides, Brother Shi has been in seclusion for a year. So what? Brother Shi had a great time smashing things up today. He completely crushed Han Zishuan. It's just a matter of time now. Just as the group of young artistes were discussing excitedly, someone suddenly stared blankly ahead and exclaimed in surprise. Then, everyone saw Su Tao eagerly leading a person into the company. The person beside Su Tao was actually the person they were talking about. Brother Shi, we missed you so much. Where have you been for the past year? Brother Shi, you're really back. Brother Shi, has your agent become Brother Tao? Ning Shi looked at those unfamiliar and familiar faces, smiled and greeted them one by one, answering everyone's questions. Yes, Brother Tao is indeed my manager now. Holy shit, it can't be. Brother Shi, you have to think about it carefully. What if he gets led astray? The people around looked at Su Tao and sighed. However, their tone was full of ridicule, and there was no malice. The corner of Su Tao's mouth twitched. Hey, you bunch of brats. What nonsense are you spouting in front of my queen? Are you trying to rebel? The crowd roared with laughter. Just when Ning Shi was surrounded by everyone's enthusiasm, a person suddenly rushed in from the crowd. Then, without saying anything, he dragged Ning Shi away like a robber. Brother Shi, who is this? How did this happen? Stop him. Ahem, it's nothing, it's Senior Jiang. Su Tao's foot was about to kick that person. Ning Shi, who was swept away, hurriedly turned back and explained. Everyone. Su Tao. The missing person whom Lei Ming had knelt down and cried for his father had returned. Chapter 1852. In the deserted corridor, the two of them stared at each other. In the end, Ning Shi looked at Jiang Mai, who was like a big man scratching his feet. She chuckled and said, "Tut, time is really a butcher's knife." Looking at the girl's bright smile, Jiang Mai's heart beat like a drum. All the blood in his body seemed to rush to his brain. He was stunned. He hadn't seen her since Ning Shi fell into a coma, and he saw her in the military sanatorium. It had been a year. The girl in front of him suddenly reminded him of the first time he saw her in China. It was the feeling of first love again. Jiang Mai rubbed his messy hair irritably and pressed his wildly beating heart. Why is it beating so fast? What a loser. After calming down, Jiang Mai gnashed his teeth and said, Ning Xiaoxi, you bastard. Who are you calling a pig? I've been handsome for too long, and I want to experience the feelings of you mortals. Can't I? Ningxi held back her laughter and nodded. Senior Jiang, you're really outstanding. Jiang Mai was dazzled by the girl's smile. He cursed in a low voice and looked away. When did you wake up? Ningxi hesitated. She coughed and answered, Well, I've been awake for a while. Hearing this, Jiang Mai was furious. Damn it. You've been awake for a while, and you didn't tell me? Ning Xiaoxi, do you think I'm your brother? Ningxi chuckled. If I told you earlier, you wouldn't be so surprised to see me. Surprised my ass. Jiang Mai was so scared that he almost fell on the ground when he saw him on TV. Besides, I don't think of you as my brother, but I do think of you as my nephew. Jiang Mai's face darkened. Nephew my ass. Jiang Mai seemed to have thought of something, and suddenly fell silent for a moment. After a while he said, I saw the live broadcast in Shen Mian's Weibo. Jiang Mai looked a little annoyed. I don't need a woman to clean up the mess for me. What did you promise Shen Mian, that old fox? Ningxi said carelessly. I just promised him a show. Jiang Mai's face changed. Damn it. No wonder. This old fox is robbing us. I was the one who suggested it. After all, I still have to film after my comeback. I had a good time working with director Shen. Hearing Ningxi's explanation, Jiang Mai still didn't look too good. Ningxi smiled and said, Senior Jiang, when I first entered this industry, I know that although you didn't say it and always made trouble for me, in fact, you helped me a lot in secret. And this time, you did it because of me. Let me pay you back, Senior Jiang. Jiang Mai blushed and turned his head away awkwardly. Scoundrel, why are you being so sentimental? I'm getting goosebumps. After saying that, Jiang Mai murmured suspiciously, How do you know those photos are fake? Lei Ming told you? Ningxi raised her eyebrows. Do I need Brother Lei to tell me this? Then how did you know? After all, the evidence was irrefutable. Even a large number of his fans left him after seeing the photos. Ningxi spread out her hands. I think, although you have no integrity, you are not that desperate. Jiang Mai. Who has no integrity? Chapter 1853. While Jiang Mai and Ningxi were talking, a tall and strong figure suddenly rushed over at the speed of light. My God. You're finally back. Oh my God. How did you end up like this? If your fans see this. Lei Ming looked at Jiang Mai's miserable appearance and felt very distressed. You make a living with your face, my God. What if they saw it? Jiang Mai narrowed his eyes and said threateningly, Ahem, I'll still love you if they saw it. Lei Ming quickly corrected himself. Then, Lei Ming immediately said to Jiang Mai joyfully, Mai, have you seen Weibo? Shen Mian publicly clarified the truth for you. Now the internet is in an uproar. Everyone is apologizing to you and praising you for being a man. Your fans are blaming themselves and crying bitterly because they misunderstood you. Their hearts are broken because of the grievances you have suffered. And what's more, Director Liang arranged professional internet water army to guide the public opinion. Now all the spearhead is aimed at Han Zixuan. Aimed at her. Jiang Mai raised his eyebrows. Yes, think about it. Shen Mian covered up the photos so tightly. Who was the one who leaked the photos? Ningxi said. Of course it's the one who benefited the most. Yes, isn't it Han Zixuan who benefited the most? Lei Ming said. Jiang Mai snorted. Will the fans believe it? That woman is not good at acting, but she is good at deceiving her fans. Lei Ming said confidently. With Director Liang behind the scenes, they have to believe it. Anyway, as long as someone suspects it, it's enough. Most importantly, Han Zixuan was definitely involved in this matter. After all, she was the main lead of this movie and one of the insiders. Yet, for her own benefit, she didn't say anything even though she knew the truth. She allowed everyone to misunderstand your relationship, and even allowed the organizers to ask you to publicly apologize to her. This was completely a problem with her character. She was simply shameless. At least the scandal between you two can be cleared up. Hearing the result of the thing he cared about the most, Jiang Mai's face became much better. Lei Ming quietly whispered in their ears, It's not over yet. I just got the latest news. Shen Mian's Weibo post has garnered a lot of attention. His superiors have invited him to have tea with them. There's an 80% chance that the film will fail. Han Zixuan has reaped what she sowed this time. Ningxi, thank you so much this time. Lei Ming thanked her with tears in his eyes. He almost put Ningxi on a pedestal. He thought he was definitely going to die this time. He didn't expect that after Ningxi came out, all the life-threatening problems were solved in just a few hours. Ningxi glanced at Jiang Mai with a faint smile, and then turned to Lei Ming. Brother Ming, you're welcome. We're family. Lei Ming thought Ningxi meant that they were all from the same company, so he hurriedly echoed, Yes, 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 we're all family. Jiang Mai. Mu Yi, although the fans love you, ahem. I think you should take a bath first. I'll go to Director Liang's place first to discuss the following matters with him. After Lei Ming finished speaking, he ran away excitedly. Strike the iron while it's hot. In the past, Jiang Mai's image was too frivolous and immature. This incident was very beneficial to his transformation. Nowadays, there were more and more young men. At Jiang Mai's current age, he should have changed. He couldn't help but admire Ningxi's good luck again. Who's family with you? As soon as Lei Ming left, Jiang Mai immediately argued with Ningxi with a dark face. Ningxi proudly took out the wedding ring on her neck and said word by word, Be a good boy and call me aunt. Chapter 1854. Seeing that ring, Jiang Mai's blood was stuck in his throat. The fact that this scoundrel had repeatedly told him that he would never become his aunt was still fresh in his mind. As a result, he couldn't bear to look back on the past. After Ningxi finished showing off, she carefully put the ring back and said in the tone of an elder, Forget it. Nephew, I'll give you some time to adapt. Jiang Mai was speechless. Adapt my ass. At the same time, in the Su family's house, Ning Xuelua had been in a meeting for the whole night and had contacted people everywhere. When she got home from the company, her luxurious dress was all wrinkled. Today was supposed to be her most perfect day. It was supposed to be her final victory. But now, in the short span of one night, everything that was originally perfect and smooth to the point of perfection was beginning to crumble. It was a terrible feeling. Ningxi, Ningxi, Ningxi. This nightmarish name appeared again. Xuelua, you're back. Zheng Minjun, who was sitting on the sofa in the living room, saw Ning Xuelua and walked over with a smile. Mom, you're not asleep yet? Ning Xuelua forced herself to greet her. I was worried and waited for you to come back. Zheng Minjun frowned when she saw Ning Xuelua's expression. Why do you look so pale? Don't you have an important social event today? Is there something wrong? Mom, I'm fine. I'm just a little tired. Sit down and have a rest. I've asked the kitchen to make some chicken soup. I'll ask the servant to get you a bowl. Zheng Minjun said with concern. Zheng Minjun's relationship with Ning Xuelua had been stiff after the fact that she was an adopted daughter was exposed. However, Zheng Minjun's attitude towards Ning Xuelua naturally changed after Ningxi's disappearance. She even treated Ning Xuelua better than before. It was not an exaggeration to say that Zheng Minjun was obedient to Ning Xuelua. Zhao Shanshan walked downstairs leisurely when she saw how attentive Zheng Minjun was to Ning Xuelua. She had a sarcastic expression on her face and said in a good mood, He tired? I think she's mentally tired. After all, the real Phoenix Ningxi is back. Her dream of flying up the tree branch is shattered again. Over the past year, Ning Xuelua had been doing better and better, gaining the favor of her parents-in-law. She and Su Sun had been suppressed to the point where they didn't even have the time to breathe. They had to take a detour whenever they saw Ning Xuelua. But now, Ningxi was back. This was simply the best news in the world. What? Ningxi is back? Zheng Minjun's expression changed when she heard this. Ning Xuelua glared at Zhao Shanshan sinisterly and frowned. As soon as that bitch Ningxi came back, even Zhao Shanshan dared to talk to her like this. Zheng Minjun knew that after Ningxi came back, she might have some thoughts that she shouldn't have. Zheng Minjun quickly came back to her senses. She ordered the servants to bring chicken soup to the kitchen as she said, So what if he's back? What's there to fuss about? She's a kept woman. After analyzing the pros and cons, she would not offend Ning Xuelua for Ningxi. Zhao Shanshan panicked when she saw Zheng Minjun's attitude. Mom, what kept woman? Those are all rumors. Ningxi is the granddaughter of the Zhuang family. How could she do such a thing? Chapter 1855. Zheng Minjun didn't take it seriously. Flies don't bite seamless eggs. How could there be such a rumor if there wasn't something between them? Tell me, why did she disappear for so long? Zheng Minjun sounded very sure. She had inquired about it, and even had photos as proof. She was sure that Ningxi had no contact with the Zhuang family in the past year. If Ningxi really had something to do with the Zhuang family, how could she be willing to be a sugar daddy? Sure enough, the Zhuang family didn't even acknowledge Zhuang Lingyu, let alone Ningxi. Seeing Zheng Minjun's disbelief, Zhao Shanshan stamped her feet in anger. Damn it! Zheng Minjun had been completely brainwashed by Ning Xueluo. Ning Xueluo looked at Zhao Shanshan's exasperated expression, and her lips curled into a smile. Trying to sow discord? That was easy. She had completely convinced Zheng Minjun that Ningxi was a sugar daddy and had nothing to do with the Zhuang family. She had said that even if Ningxi came back, nothing would change. Everything would still belong to her. As for those small disturbances, although they did annoy her, it only took her a little effort to suppress them. How could the current Shengshe entertainment go against her? No matter what Zhao Shanshan said, Zheng Minjun had completely ignored her. She took the chicken soup from the servant, walked to Ning Xueluo, and comforted her lovingly. Xueluo, don't be affected by those unlucky people. Come on, drink the chicken soup. You need to nourish your body. I'm still waiting to hold a fat grandson. Thank you, Mom. Ning Xueluo looked touched, but she sneered in her heart. They had been married for more than a year, and she still couldn't get pregnant. If she hadn't been in charge of the Ning Corporation's finance, and if History and Starlight weren't thriving, Zheng Minjun wouldn't have been nice to her. By the way, Ning Xueluo took out a red invitation card from her bag and handed it to Zheng Minjun. Mom, are you free tomorrow? I got the invitation from Tianquan Manor. Let's go and meet Mrs. Li if you are free. Really? Zheng Minjun was overjoyed at the unexpected good news as she received it. Recently it was known that Minister Li and Madam are coming to the capital. How many high-ranking officials and noble families are trying to find a way to meet them? Xueluo, how did you get it? It's nothing. I just relied on my connections, Ning Xueluo replied. Zheng Minjun grinned from ear to ear. My daughter-in-law is indeed capable. The day before yesterday, even Madame Qiao complained to me that she couldn't get an invitation. Every day, she would brag to me that her brother was some high-ranking official in the province. But I couldn't do anything about it. Zhao Shanshan stood at the side. As a daughter-in-law, when she heard Zheng Minjun say that her daughter-in-law was capable, she felt as though she was slapping herself in the face. That's right, Ning Xueluo's daughter-in-law was capable, but she was just a useless trash. What made you so happy? At this time, Su Hongguang also walked out of the house. Zheng Minjun immediately took the invitation letter and went to show off. Hongguang, Xueluo got department head Li's wife's invitation letter. Really? Su Hongguang's face was also full of surprise. If we can build a relationship with department head Li, it will be of great benefit to our ePhone corporation. Any random project in a country would be a huge project worth billions of dollars. That's right. Xueluo is indeed capable. Now in the entire capital, who doesn't envy our family for having such a capable daughter-in-law? Zheng Minjun said with a proud face. Xueluo, it's been hard on you. Su Hongguang's face was also full of gratification. Zhao Shanshan saw that her father-in-law and mother-in-law were all surrounding Ning Xueluo. Her face was extremely ugly, and she was so angry that she turned around and left. Chapter 1856. The next morning, Dear Town. When Ningxi woke up naturally, there was no one beside her bed. However, there was a tempting fragrance of millet porridge coming from downstairs. Although she had officially come back, she was not that busy. Jiang Mai's matter had been solved, so there was no need to worry about the rest. You're awake. Come and have breakfast. Lu Tingxiao had prepared breakfast as usual. Under the morning light, the way the man asked her to eat with an apron made her excited. Although she was good at cooking, she cooked less, and less when she was with Lu Tingxiao. Lu Tingxiao's cooking skills were getting better and better, even improving by leaps and bounds. Especially after she woke up, she almost never entered the kitchen. Xiaobao carefully picked up the bowl of porridge and walked to her. "Mom, Xiaobao will feed you," Ningxi quickly said. "Thank you, Xiaobao. Mom can eat by herself." "But Mom's hand is injured." Xiaobao looked at Ningxi's wrist, which was still red and swollen. Speaking of this, Ningxi glanced at Lu Tingxiao guiltily. What she didn't know was that she had only casually performed a few tricks on the stage last night. She really didn't feel anything on the spot, but when she came back at night, her wrist was actually swollen. Fortunately, it was not a serious problem, but she was still taught a lesson by the father and son. Okay, thank you, Xiaobao." Ningxi didn't dare to say anything and cooperated obediently. It was the weekend. After breakfast, Ningxi was playing with Xiaobao when a guest suddenly came to the door. Seeing the guest, Ningxi was surprised. "Madame Zhuang, why are you here?" Meng Linlang looked at the girl in front of her, her face full of love and concern. "I came to see you. I wanted to come for a long time, but I was afraid to disturb you." "No, Madame Zhuang, please come in," Ningxi said quickly. Hearing Ningxi call her Madame Zhuang again, Meng Linlang looked dissatisfied and said angrily, "Xiaoxi, what did you call me just now?" Ningxi was at a loss. She had already learned from Lu Tingxiao that the Zhuang family wanted to recognize her, but she was not used to it. It was fine with Zhuang Ku'er and Zhuang Rongguang. Anyway, they were friends. But it seemed a little awkward when it came to elders. She was used to being alone, and didn't really know how to get along with elders. Just when Ningxi didn't know what to do, a crisp voice came from behind. "Great aunt." When Meng Linlang saw the cute little guy behind Ningxi, she couldn't keep pretending to be angry anymore. She squatted down and hugged the little guy with a smile. "Hey Xiaobao, you're such a good boy." Although she didn't really like Lu Tingxiao's illegitimate son at first, because she was angry at him, she couldn't help but like him more and more as they got to know each other. At the same time, she heard a man's deep voice. "Auntie." Ningxi looked at Xiaobao and then at Lu Tingxiao. She was dumbfounded. "The two of you changed your tune a little too fast." However, seeing how natural they were, she guessed that they had been doing this since she was unconscious. Damn it. Since Big Steamed Bun and Little Steamed Bun had changed sides, Ningxi couldn't be pretentious anymore. She could only call out to Lu Tingxiao, "Aunt." "Good." Meng Linlang was finally satisfied. Chapter 1857. After entering the room, Meng Linlang and Lu Tingxiao chatted happily. Ningxi couldn't help sighing with emotion. Tut, a sweet talker could win the favor of the elders. Look at her sweetheart. She was so obedient that she could call her aunt whenever she wanted. Unlike some people, she hadn't even heard her call her aunt until now. After chatting for a while, Meng Linlang called Ningxi aside to talk to her. Meng Linlang immediately became serious, took Ningxi's hand and asked seriously, "Cici, let me ask you, how do Yan Rui and Lu Chongshan treat you?" Now she didn't have to worry about Lu Tingxiao, but she was still worried about the Lu family. After all, Cici had married Lu Tingxiao. After the marriage, it was no longer just a matter between the two of them. Cici would have to face the whole Lu family in the future. If Yan Rui and Lu Chongshan still treated her like before, how could she live in the Lu family? Cici had finally escaped from death, and she would never allow her to be wronged again. "They are very nice to me," Ningxi hurriedly replied. Meng Linlang looked a little doubtful. "Really? Don't speak up for them," Ningxi said helplessly. "It's true. They specially called me to the old mansion and had a long talk with me. They even apologized to me and have been very nice to me since then." Meng Linlang saw that Ningxi didn't seem to be lying, so she was a little relieved and snorted. "That's good. The Lu family still has some conscience." Ningxi nodded repeatedly. "Yes, aunt, don't worry." Meng Linlang's heart almost melted when she heard the girl's sweet words. She asked lovingly, "Cici, what are your plans for the future? Work or family?" Ningxi thought for a moment. "I've thought about this before. Originally, after I woke up this time, I was going to retire. I wanted to spend more time with Tingxiao and Xiaobao. I've always been busy with work, and haven't had much time to spend with them. Tingxiao has always supported me, and allowed me to do whatever I wanted. Meng Linlang nodded understandingly. What happened then? I heard from Ku-er and Rongguang that you're going to come back? Yes, Ningxi said. Because something happened later, and it was all because of me. Now the most difficult thing has been solved. Although I'm going to make a comeback, I won't work as hard as before. I can take care of both my work and my family. Meng Linlang nodded in agreement. That's good too. Actually, I don't agree with you completely retiring. Women should have their own careers. Meng Linlang then asked the question that concerned her the most. When is your wedding with Lu Tingxiao? When would their relationship be made public? Xiaoxi, don't blame me for meddling too much. Although it was a special situation before, you two got married too hastily. Marriage is a big event for a woman's life. Ningxi blushed. In fact, Lu Tingxiao proposed to me not long after I met him. But he didn't announce it until now because of my career. But it's different now. When I first debuted, my fan base wasn't stable. My marriage had a huge impact on my career. Now when my comeback plan is almost completed, I can announce the news of my marriage. It shouldn't be too long. I also want to be with him openly. After all, her sweetheart had been waiting for this title for a long time. Chapter 1858. Meng Linlang heaved a sigh of relief when she saw that Ningxi had a plan for everything. It's good that you know what to do. Anyway, if you feel wronged, unhappy or bullied, you must tell Auntie immediately. We don't have to give in to the Lu family. If you're unhappy, you can just go home. Go home. Ningxi couldn't describe how she felt when she heard that word. Ningxi's heart was filled with warmth when she saw how protective Meng Linlang was. Got it, Auntie. I'll remember it. Good girl. Meng Linlang patted the back of the girl's hand with a smile. Meng Linlang suddenly thought of something, and she happily said, I have a close friend who came to the capital recently, and I've mentioned you to her before. She's always wanted to meet you, and it just so happens that this is a good opportunity, so I'll take you to see her tonight. Ningxi was a little troubled. I meet your close friend? Meng Linlang saw that she was troubled and quickly explained, Don't be shy. She's a very good friend of mine. You have to think more about yourself. You're the mistress of the Lu family now, and you'll have to face the entire family in the future. It'll be good for you to interact more with these people. Otherwise, how are you going to control those clansmen, who are full of twists and turns? Meng Linlang's heart ached when she saw that the girl didn't seem to have thought about this. Your mother should be the one to teach you and remind you about these things, but forget it. That blind and lame person. Let's not talk about it. If you trust Auntie, then listen to Auntie. Auntie will never harm you. Ningxi didn't expect Meng Linlang to consider so much for her, and was instantly touched. How could she reject her good intentions? She nodded hurriedly. How can I not trust Auntie? I understand, Auntie. I'll go. Meng Linlang looked gratified. Then I won't disturb the three of you anymore. I'll come and pick you up tonight. Auntie, I'll send you off. Xiaobao moved over reluctantly when he saw that Meng Linlang was about to leave. Auntie, are you leaving? Yes, Auntie is leaving. I'll come and visit Xiaobao next time. Then Auntie must come earlier. Okay. Meng Linlang was very happy. Even if Xiaoxi didn't get hurt because of Xiaobao, in fact, she was still very dissatisfied with Xiaobao's existence at the beginning. After all, for Meng Linlang, who was born in a military family, to have a son before getting married, this was completely unacceptable. Therefore, when the old man suddenly wanted to take Xiaobao to the military sanatorium at the hospital, not only could her husband not accept it, but she was also very dissatisfied. However, later on, because Xiaobao was really too obedient and sensible, it made people's hearts ache for him. Only then did they gradually change their opinions. Her husband was a straightforward person, so he didn't think too much about it. However, when she thought about it, she felt that something was wrong. The old man was a smart man. What exactly did Lu Tingxiao say to him in the hospital that made him accept Xiaobao's existence and treat him so well? Combining Xiaobao and Ningxi's intimate appearance, she had a vague guess in her heart, but she didn't dare to confirm it. Since the old man didn't tell them, he must have his reasons, so she didn't dare to rashly investigate the truth. But she felt a little strange. If it was really as she guessed, why didn't Xiaoxi know it herself? Chapter 1859. What did Auntie say? Lu Tingxiao asked after Meng Linling left. Now, even when Lu Tingxiao was expressionless, Ningxi could guess what he was thinking from his subtle expressions. At this moment, Ningxi suddenly realized that his question was not that simple. So she jumped over and pacified him. Don't worry. I'm not trying to poach you. Auntie is so happy because of you and Xiaobao. Auntie asked me how Mom and Dad treat me and I said yes. She also asked me, when will we hold our wedding? When will we announce our relationship? Lu Tingxiao raised his eyebrows when he heard this. Ningxi clung to him. I said soon. With my current situation, I'm just missing a suitable opportunity. Lu Tingxiao smiled. Thank you, madam. Ningxi coughed guiltily. You're welcome. I swear it's true this time. Oh yes, I'm going to meet a friend of Auntie's with her tonight. Auntie said I should get in touch with these people. Auntie is right. She treats you sincerely. In the evening, Meng Linling came to pick up Ningxi. Her eyes lit up when she saw the little dress Ningxi was wearing. Xiaoxi, you look very nice in this dress. Ningxi breathed a sigh of relief. Really? I was worried that it would be too plain. Meng Linling shook her head. No, it's very nice. I don't know what's going on in the capital these days. Flowery styles are popular, and people say that's the real Chinese style. That kind of style is beautiful, but if you look at it too much, your eyes will be dazzled, and you'll get tired of it. The white dress you're wearing is really eye-catching. It's so refreshing. In particular, her niece's appearance was outstanding. This simple dress really made her look like a fairy that had walked out of a painting. If my designer hears your comment, he will be very happy. Ningxi said happily. Is this also your brand? Meng Linling asked. She remembered that Kaer liked this brand very much. Yes, but because the designer encountered a bottleneck some time ago, the company's situation is not very good. The clothes I'm wearing are the latest works of my designer, and the theme of the collection is returning to nature, Ningxi replied. Meng Linling had also done some research on clothes and jewelry, so she gave an appreciative analysis. What a good return to simplicity. Your designer is indeed not bad. While others are still using all kinds of colors and extravagant decorations, he has already jumped out of the frame and reached a new level. If that designer of yours is free, can he also customize one for me? Ningxi hurriedly said. Of course, as long as you don't mind. Soon, the car arrived at the destination. Meng Linling was wearing a noble and elegant pale pink cheongsam. Her real age couldn't be seen because of her well-maintained appearance. Ningxi was beside her. They didn't look like elders and juniors but more like sisters. Xiaoxi, Mrs. Li Yu and I grew up together in the military compound, and we're very close. When we meet later, don't be shy, just treat us as family. Yes, I know, Aunt. Ningxi nodded obediently. Ningxi knew her aunt's feelings for her, and she already knew why Meng Linling brought her here. After a few steps, they arrived at the Sky Spring Villa. The villa was located in a very secluded and beautiful environment. There was a natural spring in front of them, and the breeze was blowing. It was very pleasant. Chapter 1860. This Sky Spring Villa was a high-class private club. It was a gathering place for dignitaries, and was open for a limited time. The villa had been renovated a few years ago, but it still looked ancient, and the artistic conception hadn't been destroyed at all. When Meng Linling walked to the entrance of the villa with Ningxi, her cell phone rang. Meng Linling glanced at the caller ID and said to Ningxi, Xiaoxi, I have an important call. Wait here for me. It's okay. Aunt, go ahead. Ningxi understood. Meng Linlong's identity was special. Many important calls were state secrets, so it was inevitable that she had to avoid it. After Meng Linling left, Ningxi wandered around the villa and enjoyed the scenery. At the entrance of the villa, two sweet and tall female receptionists were looking at Ningxi from time to time. What does that woman do? She has been walking around the villa for a long time. Judging from her temperament and appearance, is she a dignitary? One of them said. Doesn't look like it. The other receptionist shook her head. The villa is hiring servants. She must be here to apply for a job. She remembered all the dignitaries in the capital who came to this Sky Spring villa for a long time. However, this girl looked very unfamiliar. She had never seen her before. Because of the fame of the villa, many beautiful girls, even those from good families, tried to sneak in. None of the receptionists were poor. This position was a good stepping stone for him to jump up. She's indeed not a customer here, but she looks a little familiar. She seems to be a very popular female celebrity from a long time ago. The female receptionist stared at the face in the distance that was beautiful enough to make any woman jealous, and said hesitantly, "Heh, even a popular star doesn't deserve to come to our Sky Spring villa, let alone a has-been." The other one said disdainfully. The two receptionists were used to this kind of people, so they didn't pay much attention to them. Not long after, a pure white Maserati slowly stopped nearby. The exquisite door opened, and a woman in a sapphire blue evening gown with a Chanel bag stepped out of the car. Miss Ning. Although the woman was wearing sunglasses, the two receptionists recognized her at first glance, and immediately went to greet her. Ning Shualua walked to the passenger seat, opened the door, and helped the middle-aged woman out of the car. "That's Miss Ning's mother-in-law, Madame Zheng," a female receptionist asked softly upon seeing the middle-aged woman. Receptionists like them knew almost all the famous people in the capital's upper class like the back of their hands. "Sorry for the long wait. This is my invitation letter." Ning Shualua thanked them politely. The few of them chatted for a while, and were about to walk inside. At this moment, Zheng Minjun caught a glimpse of a familiar figure by the stream in the distance. The person over there was... Zheng Minjun frowned, and pulled Ning Shualua to her side. "Shualua, look. Is that Ningxi?" "What? Ningxi?" Hearing Ningxi's name, Ning Shualua subconsciously looked in the direction of the stream. Then his pupils suddenly shrank. It really was her. "Mom, it's my sister," Ning Shualua said. Her eyes immediately darkened. "I didn't expect to meet that bitch here. What was she doing here?" Ning Shualua pondered for a moment and immediately understood. He was most likely here to curry favor. Could it be that he was abandoned by some old man and couldn't go on anymore? So he wanted to find a new backer? Ning Shualua's face flashed with joy. She adjusted the hem of her exquisite dress and said to Zheng Minjun, "Mom, let's go and say hello. I haven't seen my sister for a long time. It's been a long time since we last met." Chapter 1861. Ning Shualua walked forward after she finished speaking. She looked as if she had seen her family. Zheng Minjun didn't want to talk to her, but she had to follow Ning Shualua. "Sister, is that you?" Walking to the spring, Ning Shualua looked at Ningxi with excitement and anxiety. Hearing the voice behind her, Ningxi turned around subconsciously. Seeing Ning Shualua, Ningxi was surprised and raised her eyebrows. She didn't expect to meet Ning Shualua in Sky Spring Manor, and Su Yan's mother, Zheng Minjun, was also here. "Sister, where have you been this year? Brother Yen and I are so worried about you," Ning Shualua said with tears in her eyes as soon as Ningxi turned around. "Worried?" Zheng Minjun sneered. "Shualua, what are you worried about?" Who didn't know that this woman was kept by a powerful and influential old man? Otherwise, she wouldn't have given up the entertainment circle. She must have been enjoying herself this year. You don't have to worry about her. "Mom, I believe my sister is not that kind of person." Ning Shualua tried to defend her. "Shualua, you are too naive. Mother has lived for so many years. What kind of people have I not seen? For the sake of glory, splendor, and wealth, there are countless of women who are willing to sell their bodies. How would you know how dirty this is?" Zheng Minjun looked at Ningxi's expression, as if she had seen something disgusting. Ning Shualua smiled at Ningxi apologetically. "Mom, don't say that about my sister." Ningxi stood there and cursed. She looked at the two of them, as if they were idiots. She had thought that Ning Shualua had made some progress after a year, but she didn't change at all. Was she really going to dominate the world with this trick? Before Zheng Minjun said anything, Ning Shualua said, "Sister, I'm sorry. Mom and I have to go to the manor. We have to go now." After that, he reminded her casually, "By the way, sister, are you here to see Madame Li? You need an invitation to enter, but I only have two. Otherwise, I can bring you in with me." Zhang Minjun frowned and said, Shueluo, that's enough. How can she enter such a place? Shueluo, let's quickly go in. Don't let Madame Li wait anxiously. Sister, I'll look for you again if I have the chance. Ning Shueluo left with Zhang Minjun after she achieved her goal of showing off. When the two female receptionists saw them coming back, one of them looked at Ning Shi and asked curiously, Miss Ning, Ms. Zhang, do you know that woman over there? Zhang Minjun immediately said, How could we possibly know such a lowly woman? Hearing Zhang Minjun's tone, the receptionist immediately corrected herself. I knew it. With your status, you shouldn't know that kind of woman. I saw her walking around the villa for a long time. I guess she's here to apply for the position of an internal servant. He's just a has-been actor. I'm afraid he's tired of being kept as a mistress. He probably can't go on any longer. Maybe he's really here to apply for the position of a chamberlain. Zhang Minjun sneered. Ah, a has-been actor? And a kept woman? Hearing Zhang Minjun's words, a hint of disgust appeared in the eyes of the two receptionists. No wonder. The moment I saw that woman, I knew that she was the same as those women who have been trying to get close to us recently. Chapter 1862. No wonder. The moment I saw that woman, I knew that she was the same as those women who have been trying to get close to us recently. What does she think this is? All of us are highly educated and have undergone strict training. Does she think she can get in here with her face and body? Female receptionists like them held great malice towards women who wanted to compete with them for jobs, and their words were also very unpleasant. Of course, Zhang Minjun and Ning Shueluo were very happy to hear such words. If she's really here for the job, don't use her. Don't dirty the territory of Tianquan Villa. Zhang Minjun said quietly. Of course. Don't worry. We'll warn that woman later. We won't disturb our guests. The two of them answered. Soon, the two receptionists led Zhang Minjun and Ning Shueluo in and came back. Sure enough, Ning Shi was still lingering nearby and refused to leave. The two of them looked at each other and immediately walked up to her with cold faces. They were stunned when they saw Ning Shi's face at a close distance. They were even more shocked when they saw her up close. The girl's skin was as white as the finest mutton fat jade. They couldn't even see her pores. Her temperament, appearance, and figure were even better than the ladies of the rich and powerful families. No wonder she looked so familiar just now. She was indeed a big star. Wasn't she Ning Shi, the female lead of 9 Firmaments? They didn't expect that Ning Shi was even more beautiful than she was on TV. She hadn't appeared on the big screen for more than a year. But her appearance and figure didn't seem to be damaged. Instead, she looked even better than before. I'm afraid that this woman wasn't abandoned, but was relying on her good looks, unwilling to just be a mistress. She wanted to continue climbing up the ladder. No matter how beautiful and popular she was just a lowly actress. Did she want to be a government official? She was like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. She was dreaming. Among the women who came to the villa for the job, they hated people from the entertainment industry the most. Because people from that industry often had the most tricks and were the biggest threat to them. I'm sorry, this is a private club. You can't visit at will. One of the female receptionists looked Ning Shi up and down and said coldly, Miss, if you're here for the job, I'm sorry, but we have enough people in Tianquan Villa. You can try another one, the other said. A beautiful actress who was past her prime and had once been a mistress came to the Sky Spring Villa to apply for a job. Was there even a need to ask? She must be looking for a new target. It was disgusting to think about it. Job? Ning Shi was stunned and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Did she look like she was looking for a job? One of them looked at the time on his phone and said impatiently, Stop pretending. We've seen plenty of people like you. Hurry up and leave. Otherwise, if we see you wandering around here, it won't be as simple as a warning. They had to entertain the guests, and they didn't want to waste their time here. This woman had been wandering around here alone for so long. It was obvious that she didn't have any connections. She must have come here to try her luck. This kind of person would definitely not be casually recruited. These inner attendants all had their own recommendations to ensure that there was no problem with their family background and identity. Chapter 1863. Not long after they left, Ningxi received a call from Ming Linlang. Xiaoxi, I'm really sorry. I have something urgent to attend to. I've already sent someone to pick you up. You can go in with her first. I'll be done soon. Okay, it's okay, Aunt. You can do what you need to do. Ningxi did not mention what had happened just now to Ming Linlang in case she got into a conflict with the host's family. In any case, it was just a small misunderstanding between two waiters. After Ningxi hung up the phone, a receptionist wearing the same uniform as the two receptionists just now came over. The moment the receptionist saw the girl, she was stunned by the girl's appearance and temperament. However, her professional qualities made her quickly recover. Hello, Madame Zhuang asked me to pick you up. Please follow me. Thank you. Along the way, the receptionist secretly looked at the girl beside her from time to time. Who was this girl to Ming Linlang? Why hadn't she seen her before? She looked like a big star she knew, but there was still a big difference in temperament and appearance. It was probably just a similarity in appearance. Although she was very curious, she did not dare to rashly ask because of her status. She could only secretly guess. At the same time, the atmosphere of the small gathering of the madams in the villa was lively. The two receptionists just now were with sweet smiles on their faces. They skillfully interspersed and served the distinguished madams. Madame Li was surrounded by a myriad of stars surrounding the moon. There was laughter and cheers all around. The topics of the women's conversation were nothing more than clothes, jewelry, men and gossip. Of course, they did not forget to quietly inquire about the news and hint their purpose to the people they wanted the other party to know. This was a diplomacy between the madams. In many cases, Madame Diplomacy also occupied an extremely important position in the business and political circles. When Ning Xuelua and Zheng Minjun arrived, they only saw that all the people present were people that they would normally have a hard time meeting. Apart from the mistresses of the top rich and powerful families, most of them were the wives of officials. Ning Xuelua and Zheng Minjun mingled quite well in the business circle, but they were nothing here. When the two arrived, only Ning Xuelua's introducer and a few others greeted them, and then continued to chat. However, the two of them didn't care at all. After all, the other party's status was obvious. When Zheng Minjun saw such a high-end gathering, she was full of pride and anticipation. After this gathering, it would be enough for her to show off in front of the ladies and madams that she usually hung out with for a long time. Ning Xuela's eyes flickered slightly. She started from a rich lady, whom she was acquainted with, and slowly joined their conversation. Although she couldn't talk to Mrs. Li for the time being, she knew that this kind of thing couldn't be rushed. It was already a success for her to be able to get familiar with Mrs. Li today. If she was too polite, she would leave a bad impression. After chatting for a while, Ning Xuelua caught a glimpse of the unique magnolia brooch on Madame Li's chest. She found a suitable opportunity and tried to use it as a topic of conversation. Madame Li, the brooch on your dress is really unique. I wonder where you got it from. I was wondering what to give my mother for her birthday. Because of Ning Xuelua's interruption, everyone's eyes fell on her. The one who spoke was an unfamiliar girl. She had an outstanding appearance and a gentle temperament. It seemed like she came from an extraordinary family. Chapter 1864. When Liu heard Ning Xuelua's question, he looked happy and answered, "Well, I don't think I can buy it. My son made it for me personally." Ning Xuelua's eyes lit up when she heard that. She knew that she had asked the right question and immediately complimented. "Mr. Li is so filial." As soon as Ning Xuelua said that, everyone started to praise Liu's son. That's right. Minister Li's son is famous for being filial in the circle. Not only that, Mayan is highly appreciated in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Even that person has praised him. His future is limitless. When Zheng Minjun saw that Ning Xuelua's words had hit the nail on the head and won Liu's favor, she was overjoyed and praised. "Mrs. Li, you're so lucky." Liu was in a good mood when she mentioned her son, so she was happy to talk to him. "Mrs. Li, you look unfamiliar. May I know who you are?" When Zheng Minjun saw that Liu noticed her and even talked to her, she was overjoyed. She immediately introduced herself. My surname is Zheng. My husband is the chairman of Yifeng Group, Su Hongguang. My son is the CEO of Guangyi Group. This is my daughter-in-law, Xuelua. Mrs. Li, my name is Ning Xuelua. There were too many rich families in the capital. Li Yu actually did not have much impression of Yifeng Group or this girl. However, he still greeted her politely. Mrs. Zheng is so lucky to have such a beautiful daughter-in-law. Although it was only a short conversation, Mrs. Li was impressed by it. This trip was so worth it. Zheng Minjun felt that it was the right decision to let Su Yin marry Ning Xuelu. The two receptionists were used to being flexible. Seeing that Li Yu had taken a liking to Zheng Minjun and Ning Xuelu, they were even more attentive to them. I haven't seen Mrs. Li so happy in a long time. Isn't that so? The two of them were at ease in front of the nobles. Suddenly, they caught a glimpse of a familiar figure from the corner of their eyes. The shameless actor who had been loitering outside with malicious intentions just now had the audacity to barge into this place. How could this be? Seeing that Ning Xuelua was about to barge in, the receptionist with a sharp chin stopped what she was doing and rushed over. She shouted angrily, "Stop! Who allowed you to come in? Do you know what this place is?" Another short-haired receptionist stared at the receptionist next to Ning Shi and said sternly, "Xiao Kai, what's wrong with you? How many benefits had he received from them? How could they bring in such a messy person? Can you afford to disturb the nobles inside?" After all, it was Zheng Minjun who said that Ning Shi was an actress, so the two of them had completely confirmed her identity and didn't think of other possibilities at all. The receptionist named Xiao Kai opened his mouth and wanted to explain, but he was stunned by the two people's angry scolding. Wasn't this woman the person Madame Zhuang had asked her to bring in? Did she pick up the wrong person? Then she would be in big trouble. Seeing the panic on Xiao Kai's face, the two of them were even more certain of their judgment. At this time, the commotion outside the reception hall had gradually alerted the ladies inside. What's going on? Li Yu frowned unhappily. I don't know. It seems like some random person has barged in. Ning Xuelua had long noticed what was happening at the door. She saw that Ning Shi had the guts to directly bribe the receptionist to barge in. She was so ignorant and stupid that it was ridiculous. At this moment, seeing Ning Shi cut a sorry figure like a clown, her heart was full of ridicule and pleasure. Zheng Minjun sat nobly in her seat, her face full of disgust. What a disgrace. Xiao Kai, you're really audacious. Don't explain to us. Go and explain to the manager yourself. And you, woman, do you have any shame? Didn't I tell you that we don't recruit waiters? A prostitute cleaning our Sky Spring Villa's toilets would be dirty for us. The two receptionists' words were more unpleasant to hear, and they were ready to call the security guards to arrest her. However, just as the sharp-chinned receptionist's voice fell, an extremely fierce and angry voice suddenly came from behind. Impudent. Chapter 1865. Li Yu was very dissatisfied that his party had been disturbed. He was about to send someone to drive them away, but then he saw Meng Linlang suddenly appear, angrily looking at the two receptionists and angrily rebuking. Presumptuous. Let my niece come to your Sky Spring Villa to clean the toilets. Who gave you the courage? Meng Linlang was, after all, from a military and political family. When she was angry, her momentum was extremely frightening, and a terrible low pressure instantly enveloped the whole reception hall. Following Meng Linlang's angry rebuke, everyone present was dumbfounded. The two receptionists, whose words were more unpleasant than the previous one, stiffened their bodies and stared at each other in horror, unable to believe it in any case. This dirty actress, was Meng Linlang's niece? How could this be possible? Just now, Zheng Minjun had personally said that she was a mistress, and that she was a has-been. But how could Meng Linlang's words be wrong? What the hell was going on? The two had been completely scared silly. The short-haired receptionist trembled like a sieve. Zhuang. Madame Zhuang. It's not like this. This is a misunderstanding. We might have recognized the wrong person. The other female receptionist with a pointy chin repeatedly echoed. Yes, we recognized the wrong person. We recognized the wrong person. Those who don't know are not at fault, Madame Zhuang. You are a magnanimous person. Listening to the two's explanation, Meng Linlong's face not only did not ease, but became even more gloomy. Her eyes swept over the two, and she sneered. Oh, recognized the wrong person? Do you mean that my Xiaoxi looks like a waiter? Like an idler who is not even qualified to clean the toilets of your Sky Spring villa? The moment the last word fell, the pressure of a high-ranking person made the two's legs go soft, and they almost collapsed in fright. And the female receptionist who had led Ningxi and Xiaokai, who was about to cry just now, was standing there blankly. She thought she was going to die. She didn't expect that the wrong person was not her, but these two people. She was scared to death. She had said, this girl's temperament was so good. How could she have recognized the wrong person? Seeing that Meng Linlang was so angry that her chest was heaving up and down, Ningxi couldn't help saying softly, "And forget it." After all, this was Mrs. Li's private gathering, and Mrs. Li and Meng Linlang were close friends. If they fought because of him, Meng Linlang would be in a difficult position. Meng Linlang cared about her wholeheartedly, and she really didn't want to cause trouble for her. This was also the reason why she didn't bicker with the two of them, and wanted to resolve this small matter. Meng Linlang naturally knew that Ningxi had endured it for him, so he immediately sneered. Forget it. With that, he turned his ice-cold gaze towards the direction of the parlor and said sternly, Li Yu, is this how the Heavenly Spring Manor treats its guests? Li Yu had never thought that things would develop to this point, and he immediately felt a headache coming on. These two idiots. How could he make such a low-level mistake? Who was Meng Linlang? Even if she was the minister's wife, she wouldn't be able to bear the consequences if she offended her. And based on her understanding of Meng Linlang, she was really angry this time, which showed that this girl's status in the Zhuang family was definitely not low in Meng Linlang's heart. Seeing that Meng Linlang was furious, even Li Yu panicked. In the entire parlor, all the ladies and madams kept quiet out of fear, and no one dared to say a word. Li Yu gathered the shawl on his shoulders, glared at the two receptionists, and had no choice but to hurry over to apologize. Chapter 1866. Li Yu hurriedly walked over. Linlang, I'm really sorry. This is really a misunderstanding. If they had known that this girl was your Xiaoxi, they wouldn't have dared to say such a thing even if they were 100 times bolder. Li Yu did not know what had gotten into these two girls, but the most important thing right now was to suppress Meng Linlong's anger as soon as possible, rather than continuing to investigate and implicate more people, which would only make things worse. You too. Come and apologize to Miss Xiaoxi. Li Yu was full of anger when he saw them. The two receptionists naturally didn't dare to say that they were jealous and afraid of losing their jobs, so they took it for granted that Ningxi came to apply for a job. They also didn't dare to say that Zheng Minjun told them that Ningxi was a has-been actress. Otherwise, they would not only offend Meng Linlang, but also Zheng Minjun, so they could only keep apologizing. Mrs. Zhuang, I'm sorry. Miss Xiaoxi, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We really didn't mean it. Li Yu said without hesitation. You too, go to the finance department and settle this month's salary. Don't come tomorrow. Hearing Li Yu's words, the two suddenly turned pale. Mrs. Li Wei. In order to send them here, their families spent a lot of money and used many connections, but in the end, they lost their jobs and were fired by Mrs. Li herself. Their reputation was ruined. The two wanted to beg, but when they saw Li Yu's fierce eyes, they immediately knew that if they said more, the consequences would be more serious, so they could only leave with pale faces. Xiao Kai watched them for a long time, and when she was sure that she should be fine, she also hurriedly left. After dealing with the two of them, Li Yu walked over and held Meng Linlong's hand with a smile on his face. Linlang, I've dealt with them, so don't be angry anymore. It's not easy for us to get together. You're so hot-tempered. You don't know how to give me face in front of so many people. Li Yu looked a little sad. Meng Linlang was really angry just now, but another important reason was to take this opportunity to build up Ningxi's prestige. At this time, seeing that her purpose was almost achieved, she naturally wouldn't be aggressive. She squinted at her best friend and said, you also know my character. If it were someone else, do you think I would let it go so easily? Liu broke into laughter. Yes, yes, yes. I know you are gentle enough. Thank you for giving me face. Today's matter is indeed the fault of our heavenly spring manor. After all, the Sky Spring Manor was the property of the Li family. Not only were they the hosts of the banquet, but they were also the managers. They definitely couldn't shirk this responsibility. After Liu finished speaking, he hurriedly changed the topic and pulled Ningxi, who was standing beside Meng Linlang, to the side with a look of amazement. Linlang, I've always heard you talk about it, and I thought you were exaggerating. Now that I've seen it with my own eyes, I know you're not exaggerating, but you're being too modest. With such looks and temperament, I really can't find a second one among so many young ladies of aristocratic families. Just now, she was far away and Ningxi was blocked by those people, so she didn't see it clearly. Now that she saw it, she felt that something was wrong. The two receptionists were smart. Why did they inexplicably think that Xiaoxi was here to apply for a waitress job? What was even more ridiculous was that he even said that she was an actress who was out to sell herself. Even if Xiaoxi was an actress with her background, how could she do such a thing? At this moment not far away, in addition to those madams, the most shocked people were Ning Xuelua and Zheng Minjun. From the moment Meng Linlang appeared, Zheng Minjun already had an ominous premonition. When she heard Meng Linlang say my Meng Linlang's niece in public, her mind exploded, and she was completely dumbfounded. Chapter 1867. When Zheng Minjun heard Meng Linlang say my Meng Linlang's biological niece, in front of everyone, her mind exploded, and she was completely dumbfounded. Other than that, she felt guilty and panicked. Especially when Liu was dealing with the two receptionists just now. He was afraid that they would spill the beans and reveal what he had just said. At this moment, looking at Liu holding Ningxi's hand enthusiastically, praising and appreciating her, and the ladies around them were also flattering her, Zheng Minjun sat there stiffly. The pride she had just now had disappeared without a trace. They had tried their best to get 2 invitations through their connections, and only then could they say a few words to Mrs. Li. It was ridiculous that they were so complacent about it. As for Ningxi, just because she was the granddaughter of the Zhuang family, and the niece of Zhuang Liaoyuan and Meng Linlang, she could easily get in touch with the upper echelons of the family, and get resources that they might not be able to get in their lifetime. And her son, the Su family, had the opportunity to marry such a noble daughter-in-law, who could bring the Su family supreme glory. Marry a real phoenix. Because of Ning Xuelua's business ability, she had almost forgotten about her family background. At this moment, she deeply felt the huge gap of identity. Everything that Ning Xuelua had added up could not compare to Ningxi's identity. She had known this for a long time, so when she knew that Ningxi was very close to the Zhuang family, she immediately had that idea, until Ningxi disappeared later. And it was rumored that she was a kept woman. But now, she never expected that the Zhuang family had already recognized Ningxi, and that Meng Linlang's attitude towards Ning, she was so protective. Even if it was his biological daughter, it was nothing more than this. From this point of view, the rumor that Ningxi was a kept woman was simply a joke. Those photos and videos were all unreliable evidence. Thinking of this, Zheng Minjun's intestines turned green with regret, and she sat there absent-mindedly. And how could Ning Xuelua, who was beside her, not know what Zheng Minjun was thinking? And her nails had already dug deep into her palms. The original certainty and gloating had all turned into monstrous jealousy and resentment. Why? Why all of this was Ningxi's? She was the eldest daughter of the Ning family, the daughter of Zhuang Lingyu. From the moment she was born, all of this should have been hers. The Zhuang family should also be hers. Why was it that even with all her efforts, she still could not compare to the pheasant raised by Ningxi? Seeing this, she could not help asking, Xuelua, why don't you go and greet Madame Zhuang? Seeing this, Ning Xuelua could not help but ask, Xuelua of Zhuang. Ning Xuelua's face stiffened when she heard that. I'm afraid it's a little rude to go forward. Ningxi's Ningxian Shuezav of Shi has. Ning Ning Yi Xian, Ning Shi Shi Ning. she's of Ming of Ning Shi, Ning of S, she's Ning Shi. Ning of long Lin Meng Shi Li Chi of Shi, with Ning I Li I told you Li of with Shi Li and of I Li Shi and of Shi Li. That Lass's relationship with the Zhuang family is all because of your mother. Chapter 1868. Ning Xuelua listened to Zheng Minjun's complaints, and a trace of gloom flashed across her eyes. Mom, it's because I have a close relationship with my mother that the Zhuang family won't get close to me. You also know that my mother and the Zhuang family have always been at odds. If you had listened to me and persuaded your mother to think for you, and have a good relationship with the Zhuang family, you would have been Madame Li's guest of honor today. How did you get to the point where you have to go around begging, just to get an invitation letter? Zheng Minjun's expression was full of resentment, and her tone was full of complaints. She was a completely different person from her previous proud attitude. Ning Xuelua heard Zheng Minjun speak in such a relaxed tone, and her heart was full of annoyance. Did she think that she hadn't done it before? It was easy for her to talk. If it was so easy, how could she have not even touched the Zhuang family side until now? But she always pretended to be calm and innocent in front of Zheng Minjun. At this moment, she couldn't refute even if she wanted to explain. She could only suppress her anger with a sullen face, and watch Ning Shi being taken by Meng Linlang to walk among those noble madams. Madame Zhuang, this is your fault. You have such a beautiful and outstanding niece, but you are still hiding it. Quickly introduce her to us. What is your niece's name? I don't know if it's my illusion, but I feel that this girl looks familiar. One of the madams in a champagne-colored dress asked hesitantly. A few madams at the side also chimed in. Indeed, he does look somewhat familiar, but they did not dare to recognize her. With Meng Linlong's character, even Li Yu was afraid of her. Who dared to provoke her? Ning Xuelua heard those madams' words and thought gloomily, oh, how could she not look familiar? She was just an actress. What did they say wrong? Even if she climbed up the Zhuang family's high branch, it could not change this fact. Not to mention that she had made a comeback. Meng Linlang heard everyone's questions and glanced at Ning Shi. Seeing the girl's calm expression, she felt very gratified. So she said with a proud look, of course she looks familiar. My niece is called Ning Shi. Ning Shi. Hearing this familiar name, several madams suddenly came to their senses. This girl was really Ning Shi? The female celebrity who was extremely popular a year ago, but suddenly disappeared? Ning Shi turned out to be the Zhuang family's niece. This gossip was really amazing. Oh, it turns out that she is the big star Ning Shi. I was wondering why she looked so familiar. It's just that Madame Zhuang, your niece is even more beautiful and elegant than she is in real life. I didn't dare to recognize her at the moment. Miss Ning, my daughter is your loyal fan. Ning Shi, can I have your autograph? Ning Xuelua looked at those officials' wives and madams who had always looked down on the entertainment circle. But now they were flattering Ning Shi. She bit her lips unwillingly. This slut was relying on the fact that she was the Zhuang family's niece. The Ning Lins of Ning said, Miss Ning, I really like your acting. You're so good at it. When I found out that you were going to retire, I was very disappointed. I wonder if you'll continue acting in the future? A madam asked regretfully. Judging from her expression, she really liked Ning Shi's play. Ning said Ning. One said Lin Ning. Ning said Ning. One said with Ning. Ning Shi. Chapter 1869. Really? That's great. The lady looked expectant. At this time, Li Yu couldn't help but say to Meng Linlang, it's so tiring to be an actress. Why do you make Xiaoxi work so hard? Li Yu actually felt that being an actress didn't suit Ning Shi's identity. But because he was close to Meng Linlang, he said it directly. Ning Shi replied, I like acting, so I don't think it's tiring. Meng Linlang, of course, knew what Li Yu was implying, so she said casually, the Zhuang family's daughter can do whatever she wants as long as she's capable. There's no need to be so particular. If someone else had said this, they might not have taken it seriously. But it was Meng Linlang who said it, so they couldn't refute her. With the Zhuang family's background, Ningxi could do anything she wanted. Nowadays, many celebrities in the entertainment industry might not look special, but in fact, they all had amazing backgrounds. Because of the power of their families, only a few people in the entertainment industry knew about them. How could these people be compared to ordinary artists? Besides, when Ningxi was popular, she had a good reputation among the people. Therefore, these madams didn't think much of Ningxi's career. No matter how chaotic the entertainment industry was, Ningxi wouldn't meet anyone with her background. On the contrary, when they met Ningxi for the first time, they found that this girl was not only beautiful but also had a good personality. In the face of the rude and unreasonable attitude of the two receptionists just now, her expression was still indifferent, not angry or annoyed. At this moment, even when facing her own profession, her expression was still magnanimous. This was completely the upbringing and bearing of a young lady of an aristocratic family. And with such a family background and character, she was undoubtedly the best candidate to be the mistress of each family. For a moment, some of the madams of young masters of marriageable age began to secretly have feelings for Ningxi. Zhang Minjun felt even more uncomfortable when she saw that those officials' wives were so interested in Ningxi. Ning Xuelua, on the other hand, couldn't stay any longer when she saw those madams' attitude towards Ningxi. She even seemed to want to marry Ningxi, this bitch, so she couldn't stay any longer. She directly made an excuse that she was not feeling well, and left the party in advance. Zhang Minjun had been worried that what she had said in front of the receptionists would be discovered, so she didn't want to stay any longer. The two of them left in a hurry. Before leaving, Zhang Minjun took a deep look in Ningxi's direction, and an indecipherable light flashed in her eyes. Just as everyone was trying to inquire about the news from Meng Linlang, a burst of footsteps suddenly came from the door of the flower hall. Several waiters came in the direction of the flower hall with delicate gifts in their hands. Following behind the waiters was a young man in a gray suit, with a noble temperament. The waiters made way for him. The man stepped forward and called out in Liyu's direction, "Mother! Muyan, why are you here?" Seeing his son, Liyu immediately smiled. "I've just finished my work here. I heard that Mother is hosting a banquet here, so I came over to greet all the distinguished guests." After Li Mayan finished speaking, he gestured to the servants to distribute the gifts that he had carefully prepared. He sincerely apologized. "Due to the negligence of the management of the Sky Spring Manor, I have disturbed the mood of all the guests. I hereby apologize to all of you." Chapter 1870. Seeing that Mrs. Li, the legendary diplomat's son, was noble, handsome, and meticulous, the ladies who were comforted by Mrs. Li all looked at her with admiration. "Mr. Li, you're welcome. It's just a trivial matter. It's not a big deal." "Mrs. Li, so this is your son. He's really a talented man." After exchanging greetings with the guests, Li Mayan came to greet Meng Linlang, and his tone was obviously much more intimate than that of the other guests. "Aunt Lin." Looking at this junior whom he had always loved, Meng Linlang's expression softened a lot. "Mayan, you're back." "Aunt Lin, what happened just now?" Meng Linlang knew what he was going to say and interrupted him. "Well, since it's been solved, don't mention it again. I won't hold a grudge because of such a trivial matter. My Cici is not such a narrow-minded person." With that, Meng Linlang called out to Ningxi, who was surrounded by a group of ladies not far away. "Cici, come here." Ningxi didn't know why those ladies suddenly became so interested in her private life, and tried to inquire about it in a roundabout way. Ningxi almost couldn't cope with them all. Hearing Meng Linlang calling her, she breathed a sigh of relief, hurriedly said goodbye to the ladies and walked towards Meng Linlang. "Aunt!" The girls slowly walked out of the crowd towards Meng Linlang. Hearing the clear voice, Li Mayan subconsciously raised his head and looked in the direction of the girl. However, with just a glance, he was completely stunned. The girl was wearing a moon-white dress, with long black hair like seaweed, and an indescribably beautiful face, especially the quick-witted look in her eyes, and the swaying smile at the corners of her eyes, like a ray of light. It suddenly exploded in his mind. "Mayan, this is Cici." Meng Linling introduced, and then looked at Ningxi. Cici, this is your Aunt Yu's son Li Mayan. He is 2 years older than you, so you should call him brother. Hearing this, Ningxi nodded and greeted, Brother Mayan, hello, I'm Ningxi. At this moment, Li Mayan had recovered from his momentary gaffe, and didn't let anyone notice his strange expression. He hurriedly said, Hello, Cici. I've heard Auntie Lin mention you a long time ago. Indeed, seeing is believing. Although Li Mayan was shrewd enough not to let anyone notice anything strange about him, Li Yu was not included. Although it was only for a moment, Li Yu could still see the difference in his son's eyes. Her son had been traveling around the world all year round. His eyes were on the top of his head, and she had never seen a girl catch his eye. His marriage had always been one of her biggest worries. Li Yu's eyes flickered and he immediately said, Mu Yan, it's inevitable that Xiaoxi will feel bored chatting with us aunties. I'm worried that she'll be bored. Since you're back, why don't you show her around and be a good host? Of course, if Xiaoxi doesn't mind, I'd be happy to be your tour guide, Li Mayan said. Ningxi looked at Meng Linling subconsciously. Seeing this, Meng Linlong's eyes turned slightly. She might not have understood Li Mayan's intentions just now, but she understood Li Yu's actions now. Meng Linling took a deep look at Li Yu, and then said to Ningxi as if she didn't care. Go ahead. It's good to walk around. Chapter 1871. In fact, Meng Linling felt a bit regretful at the moment. If she had taken Xiaoxi home earlier, she would have arranged the most suitable marriage for her. In all fairness, Lu Tingxiao's status was second to none, but this was also her biggest concern. She was worried that Xiaoxi would not be able to cope with such a large and complicated family. In fact, the Li family was a very suitable candidate. Their status was enough to match the Zhuang family, and they were not so powerful that Xiaoxi would feel pressured. Most importantly, the Li family's personnel relationship was much simpler. The Li family was the richest businessman in S province, and Li Yu was the only daughter of the Li family. Li Mayan was Li Yu's only son. Not only did he inherit his father's job in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but he also had the huge financial support of the Li family, which gave him more confidence in the officialdom. Coincidentally, the Li couple shared the same surname, so Li Yu's mother's family was closer to Li Mayan, who shared the same surname. The whole family fully supported him. If Ningxi married into such a family, she would not have to worry about complicated interpersonal relationships in the future. Besides, she was very close to Li Yu. If Xiaoxi married him, she wouldn't even have to worry about the relationship between her mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. In a short time, Meng Linling had already sorted out the background of the Li family. Unfortunately, what she could do now was to try her best to help Xiaoxi build connections, to cope with whatever she had to face in the Lu family in the future. Of course, even if Xiaoxi could not cope with it, the Zhuang family would always be her escape route. Sky Spring Villa halfway up the mountain. The reason why Sky Spring Villa was called Sky Spring was that there was a very famous spring in the mountain, which was called the water of the Sky River. After drinking it, it could get rid of bad luck and keep the body healthy. Li Mayan said that he was a tour guide, so he earnestly explained the origin of the Sky Spring Villa, the structure of the Sky Spring Villa, the origin of its name, the relevant anecdotes of famous people, and finally the history of the entire capital. He explained everything in detail, and was even more professional than a professional tour guide. Ningxi listened attentively. She had been in the capital for many years, but after talking with Li Mayan, she found that she really knew little about the capital. Li Mayan looked at Ningxi's eyes, which reflected the sky above her head, the shadows of the trees around them, and him. The man still looked noble and elegant on the surface, but his palms were already wet with sweat. Her heart was beating uncontrollably. He wasn't seriously acting as a tour guide at all. He could only keep talking to maintain his composure at this moment. It was probably because he had been traveling with his father since he was young. His mother's and grandfather's side also doted on him very much. Everything he ate and wore was the best. The women he had interacted with ranged from the daughters of rich and powerful families to the daughters of high officials. and even princesses and princesses. Because of this, he was extremely picky. He had never been interested in dealing with women, and the partner that he pursued was a partner that could truly communicate with his soul, not those puppets that had been trained by his family and seemed to be carved out of the same mold. He had never been so attracted to a person's temperament with just a glance. He didn't even know anything about her. Xiaoxi didn't grow up in the capital? Seeing that Ningxi didn't know much about the things that people in the capital should know, Li Mian asked casually. Ningxi shook her head. I grew up in a small town in Sea City before I was 18. Chapter 1872. A small town in Sea City? As the niece of the Zhuang family, how could she grow up in a place like that until she was 18 years old? He didn't seem to remember which daughter of General Zhuang was married to Sea City. I see. With just one sentence, Li Mian knew that there must be many secrets that he didn't understand, so he immediately changed the topic and didn't ask any more questions. In just a short half an hour, the gathering of the ladies in front of them ended very quickly. Ningxi also left with Meng Linlang. The sound of the spring water was tinkling, and behind him was the shade of trees and flowers. Li Mian's slender figure stood at the entrance of the villa, looking at the car that gradually drove out of sight. As a diplomat, the most important thing was to be rational, and rational. Whether it was dealing with national affairs or his own partner, he had an almost strict set of standards. However, until he met that person, he didn't know that one day, he would have an unreasonable and irrational love at first sight for a person. The man pinched between his eyebrows, and in his eyes, which were always calm and emotionless, appeared a touch of light that had never appeared before. This feeling made him flustered and helpless, but more than that, it was a new experience that had transcended the ideas he had held for so many years. Mian. Li looked at his son, with a thoughtful expression. Mother. Li Mian turned around. You and Xiaoxi. Li paused and then said hesitantly. Do you want me to help you ask about Xiaoxi? Xiaoxi's situation is a bit complicated. She was switched when she was born, so she grew up in the countryside before she was 18 years old. So she had a big conflict with her biological mother, and almost cut off contact with her. And her biological mother broke off the mother-daughter relationship with Grandpa Zhuang because of something. But the point is, from Grandpa Zhuang to Zhuang Liaoyuan and Linlang, although they don't have any contact with Xiaoxi's biological mother, they all love her very much. The reason why Meng Linlang is so angry today is obviously not because of our Sky Spring Villa, but because she wants to support Xiaoxi. Mian, if you... Li Yu was about to continue, but Li Mian directly interrupted his mother. Mother, it's not necessary. I don't want to make it a formal blind date. Just let nature take its course. Li Yu was just testing him. Hearing this, he was shocked. Are you really interested in Xiaoxi? Li Mian's heart had yet to calm down. He looked at his mother and said, Mother, I've never felt this way towards any girl before. When Li Yu heard that her son had finally fallen in love with a girl, she was actually very pleased. Moreover, the girl's family background was not bad, and Meng Linlang was her close friend. Although Xiaoxi's life is a bit rough, with the Zhuang family here, her family background is comparable to our Li family. However, we still don't know much about Xiaoxi. How about? Mother, I don't care about that. Besides, the most meaningful part of getting along with people is the process of getting to know them. Li Yu chuckled helplessly. All right. Mom can't out-talk you. Let nature take its course. I won't interfere. At the same time, in Meng Linlang's car. Xiaoxi, how was your chat with Mu Yan? Meng Linlang asked casually. Ningxi nodded. Very good. Brother Mu Yan is very knowledgeable and easygoing. Meng Linlang noticed Ningxi's expression and made sure there was nothing wrong with her. She thought that Ningxi just had a good impression of her at most, so she must be overthinking. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue, that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.